All right. Welcome into the A to Z Sports Big Orange podcast. I am Charlie Burris. That is Zach Reagan. Wherever you listen throughout the world, thank you very much for listening to us. We talk everything Vols every week here on the Big Orange podcast. If that's something that you want to listen to regularly, go over to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network feed on Apple and Spotify. When you get there, rate, review, but you got to subscribe. If you do subscribe, you won't miss our shows when we drop them on Mondays. Speaking of Mondays, it is one right now at 5:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that means that we are live on YouTube. Go over to the A to Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers YouTube channel, subscribe there, and you got to hit that notification bell, because if you do that, it won't matter when we go live on that channel. You will then be notified when we go live, and you can come hang out with us, be in the comments, go back and forth with us. It's always a great time. We love talking to everybody. So join us there at Charlie_Burris, at Zach TNT, at A to Z Sports, Facebook.com/A to Z Sports Nashville, and A to Z Sports.com for everything that Zach writes. And finally, it is game week again. Zach, we are just 4 short days now from another Tennessee football game after the bye week. What's up, man?
Yeah, it was a fun, low-stress weekend. Always nice. Come off a nice win against Mississippi State on the road. Then you get to enjoy kind of stress-free weekend of football and college football on Saturday. It was certainly an interesting day of football, and one that really had a big impact on what the college football playoff picture will look like later this season. But still a lot of football to be played, and if the first weekend of October is any indication, it's going to get pretty wild over these next 2 months. Let's just hope Tennessee's on the right side of some of those results.
Let's say some teams got exposed on Saturday. Your Texases of the world kind of got their pants pulled down, and that is tough for them and also hilarious for us, but also not so hilarious because is Florida actually good now?
Is anyone good? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
We kind of talked about this in our group text. I was like, I don't know if I know who's good and who's not yet. Still, at this point in the season, we're a solid little over a month into this season, and I don't know. I mean, Oregon is up there, but their best win is against Penn State, who just lost to a really bad UCLA team. I'm sure we'll talk about some of that with Nico out there, and then, like you said, Texas. Losing everybody, Ohio State's win over Texas now doesn't look that great. So I don't know. Like I'm not sure who's good, and this is kind of what we thought was going to come to the sport with the transfer portal and NIL parity. It's here, and it's I don't know. Like I said a minute ago, I think it's going to lead to a really crazy final 2 months here.
It's going to be a wild October. There is no doubt about that. Some big games this weekend. Honestly, Tennessee, Arkansas is kind of on the lower end of everything that's going on. You obviously have Alabama next week, which is going to be a little higher leverage, as long as Tennessee takes care of business this week. And we're going to talk about that. Of course, the name of the show, I made it 3 reasons why Tennessee is going to blow the doors off of Arkansas. Will they actually do that? I think so. I think there are reasons to think that they will. But after watching Penn State, UCLA, are we nervous? Or does the coaching change make all the difference? And I will start with this, honestly, Zach, because it's kind of in a way to put any Nico talk to bed. The kid is a tortured soul at this point, or was at least before Saturday. He really kind of got a cosmic revenge to start the season of just going from Tennessee, getting less money, paying California taxes, and then the team that he plays on sucks so badly that the coach gets fired, and it's just absolutely ruinous in pretty much every way for this kid. To the point where I think most Tennessee fans were like, man, I kind of feel bad for him. Like, his dad was really the main problem and not really him as much, and he's just getting screwed over in every way possible. But then on Saturday, they, with Jerry Neuheisel as the OC, kind of in this poetic way, they beat Penn State. Were you a little happy for him? I don't know. Like, it was kind of like, hey, good for him, like at least he's getting something after being beat down so bad. I don't know. Maybe some Tennessee fans were like, dang it, this sucks. I wanted to see him lose. How were you feeling about that?
Yeah, I think it's a mixed bag of opinions on Nico throughout the fan base. I mean, I've been all along like I've never really rooted against Nico throughout all of this because, like you said, like I recognize that most of everything that happened in the spring really came from his dad and his representation, whatever you want to make of that. And they just they misplayed it. It was amateur hour. It was high school ish, amateurish travel ball, overbearing parents, right? Like that was the crux of what happened. I think most people like Nico. Most of his teammates liked Nico. Former Vols like Nico. I saw a lot of support for him from former Tennessee players. So on a personal level, yeah, I mean he's went through a lot. He's been under the microscope since he was in high school. Signed the NIL deal. It was the first kind of big NIL deal once that world kind of started, and then struggled at times at Tennessee, and he's really been put through it. And I don't think this is how I think if he had his way, he'd still be at Tennessee, right? And whether Tennessee would be better or worse for that, no one knows. Joey Aguilar is playing really well. Don't think anyone has any regrets at Tennessee with how things went down. But it was kind of nice to see him have a moment there because, he's a competitor and he went out there and played kind of confidently and without pressure, it seemed like. Like once things just kind of went all the crap the first 4 weeks of the season, it was like all the pressure was gone, and he could just go out there and play. It's kind of like, yeah, everybody thinks I suck already, so why not just go out there and play, and who cares what happens? And that was the Nico I think we saw. The other reason I think Tennessee fans were so happy is that, or some Tennessee fans, is that the hate for James Franklin is much older than the hate for Nico. And that's hate that goes back over a decade. I mean, to the Derek Dooley years. So it's new hate for Nico. It's old, deep-seated hate for Franklin. So I think that's probably going to win out every time.
I'm glad you brought up the Franklin piece because screw that guy. Oh my gosh. I have a vivid memory from college. I don't remember the year, if it was 13, 14, Vandy in the, as it was most years, pretty cold.
Oh, 13. It wasn't I know exactly which game you were talking about. It was windy, super windy.
Yes.
Yes, I remember covering that game.
Frigid cold. They went on the stupid jump pass with Patton Robinette, who Maryville native, Patton Robinette. And James Franklin trots his stupid butt over to the student section and holds up the Vandy V in front of us. I, in my younger days, am standing there. I probably threw something at him. I don't know. Don't tell UT security. But, oh, God, I cannot stand that guy. He's getting everything he deserves. Absolutely hilarious that they blew it like that. And the whole, really, that whole story, specifically with Jerry Neuheisel, it's cool. It's really cool. I mean, especially with his dad watching like that as halftime and post game for CBS. But beyond that, even funnier that he goes into the post game and he's like, yeah, I mean, we kind of drew up this plan like 2 days ago. I didn't even really know how to call plays in on the headset. Like,
yeah, he said that the mic was like flipped up at times, and he wasn't even talking to anybody trying to call a play, and Nico just kind of had to run something. And to Nico's credit, Nico's always been pretty. I know some fans will laugh at this, but I mean, he was always humble in his media, sessions, and he was after that game. He was like, "Yeah, I just kind of had to run some plays out there, and one of them worked out pretty well, and one of them was not good at all. Like they got stuffed on a 4th down or something, and it was really, really ugly. But yeah, you're right. That whole story is so great, and it really. I kind of thought about this yesterday on Sunday. That game is a reminder of why we love college football so much. Like so much of the conversation now, and I even mentioned it at the top of this show, is about the playoff. It's all about the playoff. Who's going to make the playoff? How does this affect them in the playoff? And yeah, that's not why we grew up loving college football so much. I mean, it was about what happened on each individual Saturday. I mean, you could go, 7-4 back in the day, or 8-3 or whatever, when you had an 11-game schedule, and it's like, well, you're not going to play for a championship, but man, you beat Florida or you beat Alabama or whatever, and you had those moments throughout the year. So a special moment like that for UCLA to win a game that no one thought they were going to win doesn't really mean much for UCLA. No clue where that program's going. No clue what they'll do the rest of the season. I don't know. I don't think that's gonna be like some crazy jumping off point for them where they go on a run. I mean, maybe they do. We'll see what happens. But it's a game that the loss meant a lot for Penn State and their playoff hopes and all that stuff. But on the UCLA side, it's just a really cool moment for that fan base, that program. Jerry Neuheisel, Rick Neuheisel, seeing his reaction in the studio to his son, calling plays for the first time ever and getting a win in such a massive game. I mean, it really was a fun moment for the sport.
Yeah, it was actually cool. And hey, good for Nico. Billy Bob in the comments, he says mixed emotions on Nico. Don't think he was the problem. It was his guidance. Yeah, feel very similarly.
Yeah. And that's often the problem with young athletes.
Yeah. Greg says, besides him being greeting and learning the hard way, he understands now. I wish him nothing but the best. Hey, still a millionaire, but that's the best thing that ever happened to us. Thank God. I mean, that's true. Tennessee cashed in on the whole situation. We're happy with it. He got this goofy win over Penn State.
Which helps Tennessee in the long run.
It does. It really, especially right now, because you moved up to number 12 in the AP poll. You are right on the cusp of that playoff spot if you were to stay there. I don't think Tennessee will stay there for the rest of the season, but let's say the playoffs started today. Penn State getting booted helped you out directly there. So, yeah, good times all the way around. Dodrum says, you guys have the best show on the tubes. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Thank you for watching. Now, let's get to the main point of the show. Obviously, this Arkansas game coming up. Bobby Petrino coming to town. I saw this comment made me laugh. Sam on YouTube, he says, Smokey is riding out on a Harley with a cheerleader on the back. Go Vols. I hope that happens. That would be absolutely hilarious with Petrino coming back. If you had not heard, Sam Pittman, RIP, he's not dead, but he did get fired over the weekend, or I guess last week, after they got smacked by Notre Dame. And so Sam Pittman out. And I mean, from the second Petrino showed up in Arkansas, this is what was going to happen, right? Like they hire this dude to do this. They knew they were going to fire Pittman. Petrino's your interim. Petrino, I'm sure, wants the full-time job. Arkansas is lazy. They're probably going to give it to him. I don't know. I say that. They've been lazy in the past. Also, in the last year, they went out and did that whole Calipari thing. So maybe they won't be lazy with this one. We'll see.
But is Calipari really that? I mean,
that's true.
That might be a similar example, to be honest.
Yeah, now that you say that, yeah, they gave Calipari a ton of NIL money, but besides that, it really was a lazy hire, wasn't it? Because he wanted out of Kentucky. They needed somebody. It was kind of like they were Rick Barnes, of sorts. So hey, maybe, hopefully not, but it could end up just as good for them as it has for Rick Barnes. I don't see Calipari having that kind of that renaissance that Barnes has had, but.
It's hard to. It's hard to stockpile talent in any level of collegiate sports these days. I mean, it's not possible.
Well, and it's crazy. The Arkansas AD went out after canning Pittman, and in a press conference said that Pittman didn't have the resources that he needed to win here. Why would you say that? What coach worth their salt is gonna then be like, I definitely want to go to Arkansas where I can't get boosters to give me money to go get kids? Like, what are you doing? Although clearly, they have some amount of money. They went and did the whole thing for Calipari, but supposedly, the big donors that are there in Fayetteville are Missouri fans. The Walmart folks are apparently Missouri fans, and so freaking Dorkwitz is over there is getting Walmart money. I didn't know that until this whole thing. But I'll ask you this, Zach. Coaching change has happened. How worried are you about the Petrino element?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Tennessee just went through this 2 years ago when he was at Texas A&M, and Tennessee's defense played really well in that game. That's the reason they won that game, was the defense and the punt return that D. Williams had in that game. So I'm not super concerned about it. I mean, that was a more talented roster, that Aggies roster in 23 than this Arkansas roster. The quarterback could be a problem. He's a good player and he's going to make some plays, but I don't know. I mean, he's been calling the offense this whole time. So it's not like that's a new crazy wrinkle that Tennessee's going to have to prepare for. It comes down to, can he do that and suddenly get this team going in the right direction? I don't know. Bobby Petrino is not. I mean, he's always been a good play caller. More earlier in his career, when he was more kind of cutting edge with some of his stuff, but he's never come across to me as like this big motivator. Like, even listening to his press conference today, it was very sleepy, very low energy. Just, and not that you need to be high energy in a press conference to prove you're a good coach by any means. I mean, Josh Heupel kind of sleepwalks through his every week, but just the vibe from Petrino is, I don't know if he can connect with these players in this current era. Like, he's just too much from a bygone era. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I don't know. He doesn't have that interim energy. You know, some of these interim coaches, like the one at UCLA, Skipper, like he came across with a lot of energy. And Ed Ogeron, when he did it at USC and LSU, I mean, he's perfectly suited for that job. These interim coaches that just give these quick bursts of energy into a program that can carry a program for, you know, maybe the final 6, 7, 8 games of a season, whatever it is, and then that kind of fades, right? Like, it's not a long-term answer. That's what Arkansas needs to finish out the season. Like, Petrino's not going to turn this program around and suddenly mold it into his image, you know, if he's going to be the long-term coach this season. It's going to be a process. I don't know if it's a situation that really screams success for Petrino. It just, I don't get that vibe. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see on Saturday how it goes, but I don't know. I mean, maybe the defensive stuff might worry me a little bit because he fired most of the defensive staff and you don't really know what they're going to come out and do, but I don't know how well they're going to be able to prepare for Tennessee's offense either, to be honest. That's not an easy prep, and for that to be your first prep as a new staff, they might throw some stuff that Tennessee hasn't seen on film from Arkansas, but I don't know. I mean, I still feel like Tennessee has the advantage there.
I mean, you're leading me into my main of the 3 reasons why I think Tennessee boat races Arkansas, and I do. I mean, we'll get to the official preview and prediction at the end, but I just think I said it a couple of weeks ago. This is kind of going to be like that South Carolina game a couple of years ago, after the 22 South Carolina game, and then you get revenge on them the next year, and you just sort of blew them out in Neyland. I just see it going a similar way. And the main thing is this coaching change. I think it probably freaks some people out after the thing with Penn State and how rejuvenated UCLA looked. As exactly to your point, I just don't see it with Petrino. He's an old has-been. Been there before. I'm sure fans are happy that he was the parachute that they were able to jump to, and that, you know, in his conniving way, he got in there and exactly what he wanted to happen has happened now. But he goes and he fires everybody on the defensive staff, and now you have all this insane amount of turnover. Again, that's what UCLA did on the offensive side, and Jerry Neuheisel had no idea what he was doing, and wouldn't have won. But
to be fair, Tino Sinceri didn't have any clue what he was doing either. I mean, we know the Sinceris.
And that's what I was about to say, is that there's a big reason why that game is absolutely sensational. It's because it was a huge outlier. Because usually when you have an incompetent staff and you fire them and replace them with people who have never done this stuff before, or folks who are just as incompetent, or, you know, whatever it may be, I do not see a giant improvement. Maybe a scheme change, but you're not going to do a whole scheme change in 1 week. That's just not going to happen. And if you're going to try that, it's not going to be successful. That's a recipe for disaster in itself.
And it sounds like they might be trying that.
And maybe they are. And best of luck to you. I'm sure the thing that I expect is that they're going to go the crazy route, is that they're just going to go, oh, we're going to change everything up. You've never seen any of the stuff on tape that we're going to do. And that'll work for a quarter. And then, you know, you figure it out and you go, okay, well, they're going to play man instead of zone. And so we'll play that way instead. Whatever it is. But in this game, I mean, Papa J says it here in the comments. I bet Tennessee runs a lot. Almost no matter what defense Arkansas plays, run the football. Run the football, and run the football a little bit more, because this team is so susceptible to get gashed on the ground. Their defense has been horrific. And kind of my main second reason is coaches. And then for Arkansas, second reason I think this is a blowout, this is players. Like, they just, you're not going out in the portal and getting guys in 1 week. That's not happening. And so you have the same set of dudes that you were working with before, and they have been horrific. Very, very bad. And I mean, obviously lost Memphis, got blown up by Notre Dame. And I played an admirable game against Ole Miss, but still lost that game. And so unless they have some miracle effort, they drink, Mike's special juice or whatever from Space Jam. I don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong, Zach.
Yeah, I'm with you. Nothing surprises me anymore in college football, so we'll see how the game goes. But Bobby Petrino wasn't able to save, Jimbo Fisher at A&M. He wasn't able to save Sam Pittman. Why do we think he's going to be able to do it on his own with 2 weeks to prepare for Tennessee? It seems highly unlikely. But crazy things happen in this sport all the time. I think it helps that Tennessee's coming off of a bye. They get a little bit of extra time to prepare for this game. They're healthier coming into this game than they were, obviously, at the end of the Mississippi State game. It sounds like David Sanders is a full go and probably going to start. So you're going to have your best 5 offensive linemen out there. Your receivers are healthy. You're probably not getting Jermod McCoy back, we found out today, which is unfortunate. That's not totally surprising. I think it was always a little optimistic to think he would be back this soon, which would be basically 9 months after he tore his ACL. That would be a real speedy recovery. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there with McCoy. That can just be the last few steps of that recovery is real day to day. Like, you just really can't forecast when the guy's going to be back from that kind of stuff, especially like Hypo mentioned today with that position, the cutting that you have to do as a defensive back. That's tough. So I think you'll be okay though without him in this game, since it is Arkansas, even though their offense has, shown signs of life at times this season. I think Tennessee's just, they've played 5 games together. They're a good team. They're not just kind of throwing things together this week like Arkansas is. Like, it's business as usual for Tennessee. They're not dealing with any big changes. I mean, they know what they're getting into. They know what happened last season in Fayetteville. Revenge is on their mind. Vols true freshman tight end Jack Van Doorslayer said, this weekend or today that it's a game that's personal for Tennessee. It's a little more personal than most of them because of how things went. That guy wasn't even on the team last year, and he feels that way. So this team knows what Arkansas did last season, and they know they got to show up regardless of who's on the other sideline. So it won't be like Penn State, who I think overlooked UCLA last week. I think they just thought, well, that program's a disaster, and I'm sure they prepared like they normally would, but I think there was probably a little bit of overconfidence in them. I think they thought they could just go out there and kind of sleepwalk through that game and put it down as a win, and I don't see Tennessee doing that. Tennessee's had those moments before under Hypo, but I don't think that's happening this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, a huge difference between this and Penn State from this weekend. Coming off a bye week, Penn State was coming off a really emotional, tough, crushing loss to Oregon, a game they should have won. And so their head was probably in outer space, and having to travel all the way to Pasadena for that game. It's a recipe for disaster. Tennessee's not dealing with any of that. Bye week. You're well rested. As you said, your health is as good as it's going to be at this point. Jermod McCoy, I hate that. Maybe he's back for Alabama. Even then, it's going to be a short run for him in that game if he does play. So I wouldn't count on anything significant in terms of contribution from him, even if he does play in that Alabama game. But still, it'd be nice to have him back. But you still got dudes that are working. Charles Redmond's getting better week over week after getting, absolutely picked on against Georgia. I think you're fine. They'll figure this out. And the biggest thing to me, I guess, is really reason number 3, is just you're at home. It's Neyland Stadium behind you in this game. Come on, Heupel. Generally speaking, except against Georgia, he really doesn't lose in Neyland Stadium. Crowd's going to be crazy. Wish this was a night game. That would be more
Yeah.
fun. I wish this was a night game. I wish the Alabama game was a 3:30 game, 7:30. Which probably, if Tennessee did have a chance in that one, it's kicked down a little bit now, making it a
that'll be
night game.
tough.
But
can you believe this is Tennessee's only home game this month in October? Just one home game.
Yeah,
I mean that's just wrong. Like, I know the schedule is what it is, and it's thrown together. But October, I mean, that's like the best. October, November, really October. This is my favorite, one of my favorite sports months of the entire season. You got playoff baseball and just the weather and October football, especially on a college Saturday. It's fantastic. And to think you only get one of those in Neyland this year, it seems like a missed opportunity. 3 road games in October is a weird setup.
That it is. You're kind of paying the piper for sort of having a, I guess you'd say, easy first part to the season, although you had to play Georgia, even though it was at home, and then just only at Mississippi State. But yeah, it's annoying, but it is what it is. This thing's never going to be easy. So win these ones that you got to win. Period. That it makes it even more imperative that you win this Arkansas game. I think the biggest struggle point that I would see for Tennessee here, Dalen Green running the ball, Bobby Petrino pulling out some stuff from a hat and just, things that have not been on tape. And with Dalen Green's legs, I mean, Heupel, his entire tenure with Tim Banks, they have been susceptible to the running quarterback. It has been a massive sore point for that defense. That scares me. I think Arkansas is going to get theirs points-wise. I'm not going to be surprised. 3-ish touchdowns for them in this one. Like that, I don't want to say or more, but, I mean, look how much you gave up to Mississippi State. And Dalen Green's a better quarterback than Blake Shapen. So don't love that. But at least it's in Neyland Stadium. Cut out the mistakes, and it's all there for you. You just and they got to figure out a way to keep him contained, though. That just seems like the biggest weak point.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're probably going to see more of the classic Tim Banks, like bend, don't break defense, especially early in this game as they're trying to figure out what Arkansas is going to do. And we've seen that work before, specifically against Florida in 22, when they beat Florida for the first time under Heupel, and several other times too throughout Tim Banks' time at Tennessee. But that kind of playing the too high with the safeties deep and keeping everything in front of you, and teams get into the red zone, and basically your goal is to hold them to a field goal, or maybe they go for it on 4th down and they don't get it, like Florida did in 22 and LSU in 22 with Brian Kelly. That's the philosophy, which is really just, you don't want to give up the big play and give them an easy 7 points without taking any time off the clock. And it's just, it's tough on your defense. It's a strategy that can be frustrating, but it does work at times. I think you're going to see some of that, which that can be dangerous with the running backs like you're talking about. So I don't know if they're going to have a plan to spy him. Maybe you use Arian Carter somehow in that fashion. I mean, he's got the speed. He's probably your best option to contain Arkansas's quarterback. I'm not sure what the plan will be there. That's what I would do, but I'm not a defensive coordinator in the SEC, so I don't know if that's a smart play or not. But I know watching the game, if he starts running, we're all going to be saying the same thing. Like, you got to spy that guy. And I just think Arian Carter's your best athlete to go do that. So I think there will be some frustrating moments where you see some like 3rd and 8s given up by Tennessee. But, they make a stand when they get into the red zone and they hold them to 3 points a few times. If you can do that, I think your offense is going to score plenty of points in this one.
Yeah, the way the offense should score makes me feel like, even if Dalen Green has a nice game, I think you're fine. But the good news is your defensive backs have been the best piece of your defense. Or sorry, not your defensive backs. Your defensive ends have been the best piece of your defense all season. Defensive backs getting better. I mean, Jay says it here in the comments, if we could get McCoy back to DB to pair with Hood, there would be fewer weaknesses. No doubt about that. But it's not happening, so Oh, were you going to say something? It sounded like you were going to say something.
No, I mean I think Redmond's played well. I think the safeties are the bigger concern for me with,
Yeah,
with
I
Tennessee's
agree.
secondary, and I don't know what the deal is. Maybe honestly I think it's a lot because I don't know the exact setup, but to me it sounds like Willie Martinez is more coaching cornerbacks and Tim Banks more safeties, along with coordinating the defense. I don't know if that's the right setup for that. If it's too much for Banks to do that. I know a lot of people like your defensive coordinator to be your linebackers coach because it kind of connects both ends of the defense. You're working with the defensive front, you're working with the secondary. As a coordinator, it's kind of a better position to be in. That's not to say that you can't do it. Obviously, Nick Saban or Jeremy Pruitt, both those guys are defensive back guys and know how to coordinate a defense as well as anyone. But there's something with that safety position where it just feels like safety play over the years has just kind of been frustrating at times. Not like it's always been bad. I mean, you put Jalen McCullough in the NFL, who's playing every snap just about for the Rams right now. So it's not like they're not developing guys at all, but that does seem to be the biggest weakness on the defense to me.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. And at least here, I think Arkansas had better wide receivers last year. And so you maybe have an easier time there. Dylan Green has never been particularly talented in throwing the ball. And so I think you get to him, you're able to contain him. If the defensive ends can have a good game, this one's there for you to keep them to 21, 24 points, something like that, and then you can score 40. To me, that's the ideal way that this game goes. I mean, Vegas kind of agrees. Well, the over-under's like 69 points or something. It's maybe somebody in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think that's what I saw. And so they think somebody scored a lot of points in this game, whether it be both teams or just Tennessee. Yeah, I mean, your defense has been vulnerable. Like I hated looking this up earlier. Arkansas has the worst defense in the SEC. They are last in passing, or they are last in rushing defense. They are second to last in passing defense. The last team in the SEC in passing defense is Tennessee Volunteers. So, there's a little bit to that you may get scored on in this game. And I mean, Tavante says it. Please not another overtime game or game-winning kick scenario. My blood pressure can't take anymore. Yeah, don't leave this one up to Max Gill, please. I was very glad to see that did not happen against Mississippi State. The kid clearly has. I don't know that I would say he has a yips. He's still making field goals consistently, but in pressure-packed situations, he doesn't seem to be where you want to go. So,
kickers, they you love them until you don't, and every kicker except for a handful has been cut by some team in the NFL. It seems like so it's up and down. That's a tough spot to be in. It's just a pressure-packed situation, and I'm with you. I don't want to see Gilbert lining up for any game-winning kicks. That's honestly for him. Honestly, I don't want to see him in that moment. I know he wants a chance at redemption, but if you miss it, you know what's going to happen. Social media and all that.
Maybe they could make it like the Titans yesterday, where it's just like a 25-yard kick, and Joey Sly almost missed it. he tried to miss that kick.
God, what a weird ending to that game.
I mean, if the Titans get in that game, surely Tennessee can figure out a way to win this one. But I was gonna look. Passing offense, obviously number one in the SEC to this point. Arkansas number 4. I'm kind of surprised that they're a little bit higher than I thought. This isn't individual players. Let's see. I was trying to see who their receiving leaders are. I'm going through the stats website here. Well, regardless, because this isn't working for me correctly. I think at least their strength on offense, it's concerning, but it's still. If you're asking me, all things considered, all things combined here, the coaching, the level of players that Tennessee has compared to Arkansas, And then the environment around this one's just it's tailor made for Tennessee to win here. It's a 4:15 game, so it's not an early game. Fans going to have a little time to get some social lubricant running through their veins, and yeah, I think Tennessee should be just fine. Papa J asks, who is going to be running the most, Bishop or Start? That's a great question after this Mississippi State. Because I've been very, very much on Star Thomas, and I will say I think he's still the best all-around running back. Bishop has a meet and pass pro, but Bishop made big plays.
Yeah, he had the better game against Mississippi State.
He did.
I was just looking. They ran the ball 32 times against Mississippi State. If you count Joey Aguilar, Bishop got 11 carries, Star Thomas 10, Peyton Lewis 3. So pretty even split there with Bishop and Thomas. I think you'll see something similar to that, and it'll tilt one way or the other depending on who's having the better game. I think you might have a little bit of a hot hand situation. I think Peyton Lewis is probably going to be in that same range that he was against Mississippi State, just because he's had a couple of blow-ups in pass protection, and you can't do that in this offense, especially when they're split out wide. Your running back is so important in pass protection in those situations, and when you're passing the ball, because you just don't have extra receivers close to the offensive line to where you're snapping the ball to block and to protect the quarterback. You don't really get any extra help in those situations. Even the tight end sometimes might not even be in the play there to block. So your running back, you just can't have those moments, and he'll learn from that. Look, we saw it from Dylan Sampson early in his career. I remember he got Hendon Hooker blown up in Baton Rouge. I don't think he came back in that game after that. I can't remember, but that's one of the tougher things for young running backs to figure out. And Lewis will get there, but you get your quarterback hit a couple times in an SEC game, and you're probably not gonna have the trust from the coaching staff. You're gonna have to earn that back.
Yeah, it's this is a setup that it should be. It should just be Star and Bishop, and then Lewis can win his turn, and that'll be fine. Throw the ball to Star Thomas more. I would definitely say that. That's, I mean, that was a play that saved your butt at one point in the Mississippi State game. Was that a fourth down?
Yes, and
yeah,
the true freshman false started on it. They didn't call it on Tennessee. The Van Dorselayer, the tight end there, they were very lucky. He went to move the wrong way. Little true freshman mistake. It happens. Van Dorselayer had some huge blocks on the two biggest plays of that game. So not throwing any shade at him there. It just happens. But Tennessee was fortunate that play, that false start was not called, because then it would have been 4th and 7, I believe. And I don't know what Tennessee does in that situation then, which I think that's the drive where Max Gilbert missed the field goal anyway. So maybe it wouldn't have mattered.
Well, for Arkansas, I finally found what I was looking for. Leading wide receiver isn't actual wide receiver. I'm trying to see if it was tight end. Number 2 is tight end. It's Omega Blake. Great name. Only 399 yards on the season. Then Ryan Jones, 220. Raylan Sharp. Their leading rusher is Taylon Green. Not a running back.
What does he have?
441 yards on the season, but only 2 touchdowns. Mike Washington Jr. with 393 on the season. So it's I do hate that somebody that mobile is gonna come in here, and it was a big factor in that game last year. There's no doubt about it. And you lost to the stupid backup at the end of that game after you actually hit Taylon Green enough to take him out of the game, and then the backup came in and beat you.
That can be a factor. I mean, look, Tennessee hasn't been statistically great on defense this year, but it's still a lot of the same dudes. They're SEC guys. They're physical. They're big. You don't want your quarterback getting hit by Arian Carter that many times. You don't want Bryson Eason landing on top of him, or Dominic Bailey, or Joshua Josephs. Like, you don't want that. You don't want Boo Carter coming in there and hitting him like he hit that Mississippi State kid.
Yeah.
So you got to be cognizant of that if you're Petrino. You can't just run him around like crazy and think that those hits aren't going to, make an impact or be too much for him to handle. I mean, all it takes is landing on that right shoulder one time the wrong way, and suddenly you're going to the backup. So you got to be careful with that if you're Petrino.
Definitely. We'll see what they do. Now let's talk about this, Zach. 4:15, Neyland Stadium. Arkansas comes to town. Big, well, it's not the biggest game of the season, but it's a big game in the fact that this is the don't screw this up spot. Mississippi State, you passed that test. If there was a classic Josh Heupel trap game, and you passed that, I think the biggest one of the year is coming up in Oklahoma. We'll talk about that when it actually comes. But this is, it's right. If this was at Arkansas, it would be a bigger trap game than that Mississippi State one to me. Thankfully, it's not. You were at home, so I think it's a little bit of a lesser test, especially with how just reeling Arkansas is right now. How are you feeling? What's your score prediction for this one, Zach?
I think it helps Arkansas that they've played at Ole Miss already this season and they have a little bit of experience in a hostile road environment. Still, I don't care how many times you do go play on the road in the SEC. It's tough every time. I mean, it's toughest your first time ever doing it, but it's still tough every time, no matter what. And Neyland should be pretty loud, especially with it being the only home game in October. I expect it to be a electric crowd, even though it's not at night. I like what you said earlier. It kind of reminds me of that South Carolina game in 23 where you're looking for revenge for a game you lost the previous season. And, if we're being honest, Tennessee should not have lost that game to Arkansas last season. It wasn't like that South Carolina game in 22 where you just got blown out, right? I mean, you had chances to win that game against Arkansas. You had a chance at the very end of the game. I mean, Nico didn't play well on that final drive, ran out of bounds, missed a running back that, may have won the game if he had made the pass. So there was a lot of missed opportunities in that game where you still could have played not well and won that game, and you just didn't. So I think the talent gap's pretty wide. I think Tennessee's a lot better team. The fact that it's at home kind of cancels out the whole interim situation and any sort of spark that Arkansas might get from that, which I'm skeptical of, which I mentioned earlier with Petrino and his ability to be kind of that motivating interim coach. I think it's going to be like that 23 South Carolina game, though. I think Tennessee's going to come out and play well, make some big plays on defense, and turn Arkansas over a couple times. And I think it'll be a similar final score. I can't remember exactly what that one was, but this one to me is like a 45-23. I think you win by 20-ish points. I do agree with you. I think Arkansas is going to score some points just because Tennessee's defense hasn't been that great this season, but I think their offense is really going to hit its stride. I mean, Chris Brazel's playing at such a high level. Matthews and Staley have had some big games. They can clean up some of their mistakes, which I think just comes from a lack of experience. Remember, those guys are in their first year as full-time starters, seeing as much action as they are. So, some of those mistakes they've made, it's just part of the growing process, growing pains. You see that from some young guys. I think Tennessee's offense played really well in this game, though. So, like I said, 45-23.
45-23. I like that a lot. I'm thinking very similarly. As I've already said, talent advantage, coaching advantage. You've already done this. You've beaten Petrino in an interim spot. And I think you have the better, basically, every level. And I think they're going to come out with goofiness. And maybe this is close after the first quarter. Maybe it's 7-7 going into the second quarter. You settle in. You win the middle 8. By the third quarter, it's 24-10. And then you just kind of run it up from there. I'll say 38-17 is your final here. A little 21-point win for Tennessee. Blowout for both of us. And you move on to Alabama, 7:30 in Tuscaloosa. What a shame. We will talk about it next week. But there's our predictions for the game. Hopefully we're not wrong. I will say myself, Jonathan Crompton, will be at halftime post-game right here on the A to Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers YouTube channel. Talking all things about that game, win, lose, rain, shine. We will be here to discuss it with you. And I guess let's finish with this, Zach. I feel like we got to mention it. Tony Vitello, his name coming up for the Giants job, and then right from the Athletic mentioning his name for the Braves job. And I swear to you, Zach, if this man, like the Giants would be one thing. That would suck. It would be absolutely devastating. It's best program on campus and most loved coach on campus, and just he's the closest thing that you've got to a Pat Summitt type figure that you've had since Pat Summitt. Would just be so shatteringly horrible if he left. But if this dude went to the Atlanta Braves, I would. Now I gotta say, a lot of Tennessee fans are Braves fans, so apologies up front. Rangers fan, Mets fan, as you can see, especially Mets fan, and Zach.
Oh yeah,
that would just be the most annoying thing that's ever happened on this earth. So I don't think that's gonna happen. The Giants thing, though, like there's a little bit of legs to that one. I don't know how are you feeling at the moment about that, Zach?
yeah. I mean, Papa J says no one is going to take a college baseball coach directly as a manager. Not going to happen. I mostly agree with that, but also, I mean, I think we've seen enough things in sports, at least in my time on this earth and keeping up with sports, that you never say never on any situation, as we've seen some crazy, unexplainable, weird things happen. And all it takes is one. All it takes is one baseball executive to say, I'm going to try something new and I'm going to hire a guy straight from college. So I don't think you can ever rule that out. And, if an MLB team, if the Giants came hard after Tony Vitello, there's not much that Tennessee could do to prevent him from leaving. I mean, he's got everything he wants at Tennessee. I think he loves it at Tennessee, but Vitello, I'm sure at some point as a kid had a dream of playing in Major League Baseball or whatever, coaching, managing, something. That's every young kid, right? Especially back when he grew up and college baseball wasn't nearly as popular as it is now, which is in part because of Tony Vitello's success at Tennessee. But, if that's a dream of his, I don't know how you could compete with that. But I do mostly agree with Papa J and Kyle's mentioned it here. That's not the last time I don't think a college coach went straight from college to the major leagues in 1982. I know there's a pitching coach from Michigan, I think, that went a few years ago straight to the big leagues, but that was in a pitching coach role. So it is highly unusual for what's that?
It's extremely rare.
Yeah. And look, Vitello never, some people have pointed to Pat Murphy with the Brewers because he coached at Notre Dame and Arizona State, but he also played in the minor leagues for 4 seasons. He was a bench coach for almost a decade. That was a much different situation than taking Tony V out of Knoxville. Vitello never played in minor league baseball, right? He has no big league experience in any capacity. Obviously, he has great relationships with scouts and front office members because they scout Tennessee's players. They come check them out, all that stuff. But it's just such a different environment. Coaching a college team and coaching a big league team, managing a big league clubhouse when you've never been in that situation, it's a completely different dynamic. I mean, you see these guys, you're seeing a little more in MLB now, I guess, some of the energy and the emotion, but it's not the same. Like going and watching a college baseball game in June is not the same as watching a minor league game in June with many of the same players that were just in college the previous year. Like the energy is different. It's just a completely different thing. And that it's the same way in the big leagues. It's just a different vibe, I guess you'd say. And I don't know if that's what, to me, if you hire Tony Vitello to do that job, you're asking Tony Vitello to not be Tony Vitello. Like you're asking him to not be the best version of himself, because the best version of himself is the guy that we see in Knoxville right now. And I don't think he can go be that in the big leagues. So we'll see what happens, but I would be very surprised if it happened.
I don't see it. This man, people kiss the ground that he walks on around here. He will have a statue and a number of national championships. I think the way that his team is set up currently, you are basically in a position to win multiple national championships in the next 5 to 10 years. Why you would leave to go do that outside of just absolute boyhood dream of being an MLB manager or something like that, I just don't see it at all.
I don't think the quality of life. Vitello likes going to football games on Saturdays in the fall, right? He likes being at basketball games. He likes being a part of all those things. As it is right now, he's got to travel a couple weekends a month for an away SEC series. Most of the time, he's in Knoxville. Being in baseball, it's a very nomadic life. I mean, 81 games of the year, you're on the road. The other 81 games, you're in a Major League Baseball park at 7 o'clock every night for the most part. You get very few days off. Like, it's a grind, unlike anything Vitello has ever done before. And I know he's not married, so he's in a spot in life where maybe he could handle that. But even you take all that out, and it's still such a different life that you would just be jumping into. To me, the more fulfilling, I mean, this is everybody's different, but from my perception, being the head coach at Tennessee is or even LSU, I'm not just saying it's Tennessee, any SEC school that has a good college football program is a more prominent role than being an MLB manager. Most people, I mean, I'm a pretty big baseball fan. I knew who the Giants manager was, but I think if you just asked me in the middle of August before all this like talk was out there, I'd have had to think about it, or I might not have even known. There's plenty of MLB teams that if you asked me their manager right now, their name, I couldn't tell you. Like I would have no idea who the Chicago White Sox manager is. Like I don't know, and it's such a weird job when it comes to being a coach. It's not like the NFL. It's not like basketball where those names and faces are so familiar. It's I don't know. I don't think it's Tony's lane. I just don't.
I don't either, and so I think he's going to be your coach going forward. But I don't blame him. Throw your name out there, get a raise, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah,
keeps his profile high. There's a reason that his name's coming up and not Jay Johnson, and not old Corbin and guys like that. So you're the top dude in the sport, and you would be a not dude in the sport if you go to the MLB. Exactly like you're saying. I don't see it, but weird things have happened.
Yeah, you never know.
Never,
but
yeah,
I think it's very,
please.
very unlikely. It would be crushing. Please. I mean, like you said, you kind of alluded to it. Tony Vitello is the best coach in any sport that Tennessee's had on campus since Pat Summitt. I mean, I don't think there's any debating that at all. And to lose him, I don't care who you replace him with. If it's Josh Elander, if it's some other great hire, nobody's going to be the same as Tony Vitello and what he's brought to the program. It's a very unique thing that he's been able to do. And it's just because of who he is as a person, as a coach, as a mentor, all these different things has made Tennessee successful under his watch. And nobody's going to recreate. They would have to do it their own way. You're not going to do it Tony Vitello's way if you have to replace him. And I don't want to think about that. Let's just keep the good times going with Tony V.
Yes. Don't leave us, Tony, please. I don't think he will. But if he does, we'll be on here talking about it. Charlie Burris, Zach Reagan. That's a show. Thank you for tuning in. We could not do it without everybody. Hopefully the mic is better this week. I'm sorry that it's been so crappy over the last few weeks. It's been this some change in the streaming software that we use. I have no idea. But I think we've made it through where I figured it out. Maybe. I'm going to go listen to this. And okay, Papa J says the mic is definitely better. All right, good. So that is it for us. Thank you for tuning in again. Myself, Jonathan Crompton, halftime post game during the Arkansas game and every game for the rest of the season right here on the AZ Sports Tennessee Volunteer YouTube channel. So subscribe, notification bell, yada, yada. We will see you there. Yeah, that's all. I don't feel like talking about anything else. All right. We will talk to y'all next week.
See you guys later.